where all the bones meet was a compression fracture. I've had a couple knee surgeries. Leg has never been the same, and I never ended up getting back into snowboarding. I tried, but I still have knee pain. And I was really angry about it for a while. And I remember feeling sorry for myself and thinking, oh, woe is me. This has been taken from me. And I hobbled into the pharmacy and I saw a girl there on crutches, and she was missing her leg, the same leg as mine that was injured, but she was missing the leg completely. And I just thought, wow, I'm so lucky and so grateful. And I think right then is when everything changed. And I was like, I am not a victim. This is my life. I'm not going to let this get me down. And so it was just a mindset, and I was no longer a victim. And I was like, all right, what am I going to do with my life? I'm going to enjoy it. If absurd things can happen, like getting hit in a parking lot, then I can do every dangerous thing, supposed dangerous thing. And I might get hurt doing that, or I might not get hurt. Might get hurt in a parking lot. I don't know. I ended up buying a motorcycle. I was no longer afraid to try anything.
When you were hit, where did you live then? Were you just still all over the place, or?
My home base at that point was in Squaw Valley, Lake Tahoe, which is a really near and dear place in my heart. A lot of my friends still live there, and that feels like family, and that feels like home. I was in Squaw Valley, but after the knee surgery, I ended up moving back to live with my parents for a month so that I could go through rehab. Reconnected with an ex-boyfriend. We ended up moving back to Tahoe. I tried to snowboard again, didn't quite work. Relationship didn't work. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to Hawaii. I'm just going to go somewhere. I've been chasing this snow, this cold weather for so many years now. I'm going to go to Hawaii and just chill on the beach and learn how to golf and hang out. And so I did. I up and moved to
Your
Hawaii.
story cracks me up, but just keep going.
No job,
Keep going.
no nothing. So I up and moved to Hawaii. I had a girlfriend that I had waited tables with in the past, and we'd stayed in close contact, and I asked her what Hawaii was like, and she's like, it's great, come on over. And so I shipped my mountain bike over, and I showed up a few days later and just fell in love with Hawaii. I had no more thoughts of aviation. That was kind of in my past and not something I thought about anymore. I wasn't snowboarding anymore. So I got into fine dining, waiting tables, and I actually really enjoyed it. I called my mom one day and I was like, Mom, I'm a career server and I really love it because I can work at night for a few hours, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 hours, and I can make $200 or $300 cash. And then during the day, I can go golfing and I can go wakeboarding and I can go hiking and do all these fun things. And I'm like happy. I'm finish line. This is what I'm doing. And she was like, okay, honey, if that's what makes you happy, that's great. And I'm so fortunate that my parents have always been that way. I've never had the pressure of like get married, have children, maybe a little bit of that pressure of have children, but but never the career or the college. I think my mom has always just trusted that even when I'm doing things that aren't the norm, that I still know how to take care of myself. And I'll always thank my grandfather for that because he's the one that showed me that I can do anything and I can do it myself. So yeah, so I moved to Hawaii. I was waiting tables and I ended up at a barbecue and there was a guy all tattooed up and looked really cool. And I was chit chatting with him and he's like, and I was like, well, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I'm a helicopter pilot. And he said it in this like really cool way. And I was like, you're a helicopter pilot. I'm like, wow. I love helicopters and I actually have my private pilot's license. And he's like, oh, you're a pilot. He's like, well, I'm a student helicopter pilot. So he kind of came clean to me once he knew that I knew a little bit about aviation. I was like, really? I didn't even know you could just go to school to be a helicopter pilot. And he's like, yeah, there's this great school down the street, Mauna Loa Helicopters in Kona on the big island of Hawaii. And he's like, takes about a year to go through school. You get a loan. It's about $50,000. Schooling, you go at your own pace. So it usually takes people about a year. And then afterwards, you get a job as a flight instructor at that school in order to build your time and your experience. And then once you get to 1,000 hours, you can go get any job you want. And there's all these retired military guys. So there's lots of jobs. And I was like, wow, that is amazing. And I mean, I had a couple beers and I was like, that just clicked in my head. And I said, okay, that is my next thing. I'm going to do that.
You didn't do this in 2 weeks, did you? You didn't do all that in 2 weeks?
No, definitely not 2 weeks.
Okay. I'm just making sure. Okay.
But I do think it was the very next day. And so my same friend that I had actually moved over and was her roommate, she came to the party and I was like, Tracy, listen to this. You can go to school to be a helicopter pilot. And I told her the same story about the $50,000, the loan that takes a year, flight instructor. And she's like, that sounds great. We should do that. And I was like, let's do it. So I think the very next day we both walked into the helicopter school together and said, sign us up. And we did it.
So you don't have those friends that roll their eyes at you? Because that's my friends. When I tell them I'm going to do something crazy, they all roll their eyes at me. You had those friends that were just the ones that would not roll their eyes with me. They're not allowed to talk to me anymore because they all got married. But you had cool friends.
I am very lucky. I've had very open-minded friends, and I've had lots of crazy outlandish ideas, and they've happened. So I think people believe me too.
You were on the Big Island?
Yep, Big Island. So Hawaii has five main islands, and one of them is called Hawaii, and it's big in size, but it's not the populated one. So it's actually it's like the least populated island, and it's really rugged and lava. So it's not big sandy beaches. It's not like the Waikiki type of Hawaii, more rugged. And to get to a sandy beach, you have to hike 30 minutes, but then you get the whole place to yourself.
We actually went to Hawaii about 3 years ago, and we went to 3 different islands. The Big Island was the second one we went to, and I know why it's called the Big Island. I rented a car and was going to drive around it one day.
Not in one day, right?
I didn't drive around the whole thing, but I went to Hilo, and then I went to the volcano, and then I think we got back to where we were staying 10 o'clock at night. It was such a long drive. It was forever. It took forever. I know, like I said, I know why they call it the Big Island, but you're right. It doesn't have, Maui has the California feel, and the Big Island does not. It's different. It's got a different feel
Definitely.
to it.
And it goes right along with, if it was easy, everybody would do it. So if you have to work hard to get to a white sandy beach and you get it all to yourself, there's the reward. And everyone's like, oh, you're so lucky you're at the beach, this crystal clear water with white sand beach, and you're so lucky. I'm like, well, not really. I worked my ass off to get over here.
Yeah. Yeah, so, to get that right.
I hiked over lava to get here. Not hot lava, but rugged lava.
When we went to the Big Island, the steam vents were so freaking cool, but it was scary if you think about it. We were standing there at the overlook, where you look at the vault and you see the lava, and it's really freaky considering now I look back, last year, the year before, they had all the lava flows, and when it erupted, it's very scary when you look back where we were versus what happened 2 years later. Yeah. It's so weird.
Right. And the whole world is dynamic like that. Like we have such a short lifetime relative to the earth. So everything we're living on, I mean, where I live now is huge rugged mountains, and they all are formed from earthquakes. So there's definitely earthquakes that will take out our homes, and there's hurricanes and floods and everything, and volcanoes that will erupt. I mean, the world is
such a true
bigger
statement.
than us, that's
all right.
for sure.
Continue on about the Big Island.
So I walked into that helicopter school and signed up. At the time, I was waiting tables at the Four Seasons, which is nice, fine dining, good money. I was living meagerly, and so I was able to pay as I went through helicopter school for the first half of it. And then the second half, I decided to go into debt, which I really dislike doing. I think that debt is what holds people back from really being able to have the freedom to live the kind of lifestyle that I've led. I bit the bullet. I went into debt. I think I borrowed $30,000 and then finished up school really quick. As soon as I was finished with school, I was really fortunate, and I was offered the job as a flight instructor there at the school. So let's see, schooling itself took me 13 months. And then as a flight instructor took me 8 months until I reached that magic 1,000 hours. 1,000 hours is kind of the number that you can go off and look for other jobs. And at 1,000 hours, I had sent out, 100 resumes, did lots of calling around, looking for jobs. That first job's really hard to get. And I ended up getting a job with a company in Alaska. I tried for, a month every single day, calling the chief pilot and emailing him on the days I didn't call. And I bugged him and bugged him and bugged him. And then one day he's like, all right, got yourself a job. How fast can you be here? And actually, it's not even a job.
From Hawaii to Alaska.
Yeah, it's not even a job offer. It's you can come up here and we'll start training, and if you do well, then maybe we'll hire you. But luckily, I did well, and they hired me. So yeah, from Hawaii to Alaska.
Wow.
Never been to Alaska before. I got off the plane and did my training in Ketchikan, and then I ended up in Juneau. And Juneau, there's this glacier, the Mendenhall Glacier, that comes just rolling down the hill. And the first time I saw it, I was just like, there is a river of ice and it's coming straight towards me. And it was just the most amazing thing to see. I hadn't seen one surrounded by green. I'd only ever been in New Zealand. There's some glaciers too, but that's where there's in the wintertime when there was snow. So seeing glaciers in the summertime is really pretty fascinating. And I spent a summer there flying A-Stars, getting the training and the experience that I needed to then come back to Hawaii. And I was really fortunate to be offered a job for Paradise Helicopters. They were right next to the school that I had gone to. So I'd really been knocking on doors, letting them know I really wanted to work for them for a long time before that. And so once I had the experience, they hired me. I came back and I ended up flying out of Hilo, a Hughes 500, and I was doing tours out over the erupting volcano.
Wow. Is there anything you're afraid of? I just thought I'd ask that question. Is there like anything you're afraid of?
Anything I'm afraid
Snakes.
of.
I mean, yeah, it's a reach, I know, but
honestly, I think that my accident has that mindset shift at that point. I decided I wasn't going to be afraid of anything, but you're going to laugh because I actually am a little bit afraid of height. And I know being a helicopter pilot, that sounds absurd, but there's something about standing on the edge of something and looking down and just the feeling that I want to experience what it's like to go flying off that edge. So there's something about being afraid of heights, but it's not quite the height. It's me being afraid of me at that point. So I know, kind of funny.
Yeah, let me recap here. So you're a fixed wing pilot, you snowboarded, and a helicopter pilot, and you're afraid of heights. Have you ever looked down, like before you snowboarded? Have you looked down the hill that you go down? I mean, I'm just asking. Did you realize how steep that is?
Yes, but there's something about like having a board on your feet that you could just like point your body straight down and go, and you're going with that gravity. So no, that doesn't scare me at all. I love that.
So after my divorce, I was in Salt Lake for a little bit, and a buddy of mine there, he's like, hey, why don't you get you a mountain bike and let's go to the ski lift and we'll go to one of the resorts. I don't remember what it was, something canyon there, little canyon, some big canyon, I don't remember. We put our bikes on the back of the chairlift and we go up, and then we're going to ride down the ski slopes in the summertime. They have these mountain bike trails. Fun, sounds fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those freaking things are straight down.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ski slopes are straight down. Like
right.
I mean, it literally took me like 3 or 4 times to get enough nerve to not ride the brakes all the way down. I couldn't believe how steep it was. And for you to sit and tell me and I think you probably summed it up, you're more afraid of yourself than you are the heights. There's probably a lot of truth to that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But you know what? I think that they're steeper in the summer than they are in the winter. I know that sounds absurd.
Because of the snow and just,
no.
Well, just the snow and the perception,
it's the
maybe.
Perception. Yeah. Because when you're on skis or a snowboard and it's steep, you can just slide right down it. But when you're on a mountain bike, it's a whole different story. It definitely looks steeper. Yeah. I know what you mean when you're out there.
My first time going down the mountain bike trail, I'd bought this really expensive mountain bike. Well, it was expensive to me at the time. Going down the trail, riding my brakes, I hear this guy behind me coming up. He's got this long ponytail, and this guy is pedaling downhill, down the ski slope. I had to lay the mountain bike over to let this guy blow by me.
Oh my
ponytail
gosh.
flying behind him, everything. And I'm thinking, wow, what a jerk. I mean, I'm just learning. So I get to the bottom of the trail and I get down there. And of course, I'm not going to say anything to him. And I'm glad I didn't, because when he took his helmet off, it was like a 16-year-old girl.
That's awesome.
It wasn't a guy. Yeah, it was like a 16-year-old girl. And so I waited till she left for the day before I went back up again, because I didn't want to be embarrassed. So, but anyway.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that story. Thanks.
So you're back in Hawaii. You are flying for the company that was next door to, you said, no, was it next door to the school?
Close to the it was next door to the school.
You're flying tours over the volcano, which is really cool. That's a really cool job.
It was, and that was my dream job. And I was like, I have done my whole career ladder thing. I'm here again. I call my mom up and say, okay, Mom, I'm not a career server anymore. I'm a career tour pilot, and I love it. And I'm flying over the volcano, and I'm flying a Hughes 500. And it's the coolest thing ever. I'm done.
Let me just ask you, is your mom still around by chance?
She sure is. Yeah.
Does she get surprised when you call her? Is there like anything that would surprise her now when you would call her and tell her?
My poor mom, I have put her through the ringer, I swear. No, she is amazing, and she is super supportive of all of the crazy little ideas that I get, the crazy big ideas, and I think she has learned how to just trust that I'm gonna come back in one piece. And no, but she's not surprised anymore. I can tell her the craziest things, and she will be like, "Okay, dear."
Sounds like a good mom.
She is.
Sounds like a good mother.
She is. I don't know how she did it. I don't know